All right, fam. We are live. What's up, Paris?
Hey, how's it going?
It is going great. You're out in New York right now for which event?
Tech Week, New York Tech Week.
New York Tech Week. Big one, right?
Oh, big. And I feel like it's such a marathon too. There are literally 900 events. So half of it is literally just doing your homework and figuring out what you need to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've been on the event circuit as of late, so I'm sure you're ready to get home at some point and just be able to relax a little bit. So excited for our live today, you guys. If you're tuning in from LinkedIn, if you're tuning in from YouTube, welcome in. If you guys are going to catch this as a replay, we have a lot of great stuff for you guys today. We have the 7 hiring mistakes that are holding your business back. And here's the thing, guys, like we're not going to take a ton of time with introductions or anything like that. But if you guys don't know Paris Blaine, you guys should connect with her on LinkedIn. She puts out some incredible content. She's doing some really incredible things in the hiring and HR space. And if you guys are looking for some people to, or if you're looking to plug in some new people into your business, if you need help hiring, Paris is an expert at this. And that's why she agreed to come on live today and share some of her knowledge. So Paris, do you have the share screen button? I know you kind of had a presentation. I just want to make sure you have a share screen.
I do. Give me 1 second.
Beautiful. And if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, welcome to the lives. We do these as frequent as we possibly can. So if you're hanging out with us today, drop a little 1 in the chat for us. That way we know that you guys are here. But we're gonna get jamming here with Paris in just a second. If you guys have questions throughout this live today, please feel free to drop a comment in the live stream. Be more than happy to answer it by the end of the stream.
Great. 1 second. I'm just putting this full screen.
Beautiful.
Okay, it should be loaded here in a second.
All right, sick.
Perfect.
Got it figured out.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Josh, I actually don't know if you have it. It is not pulling up on my side. It's just loading and is not.
Okay. Do you want me to pull it up for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Is it the same one? What up, Skylar? Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, it is the same one.
Okay. Let me pull this up on my end real fast, and then I will present it for you.
Let me see. I might be able to get it now. Okay. Looks like it just came through.
Okay. You got it now?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it.
I don't know why. I was just loading and loading. Okay. Give me 1 second. Great.
Skylar, what's up, bro? Hope you're doing well, man.
Okay. So can you all see that?
We're here. And we're live.
Great. So today I just want to go over the 7 hiring practices that I consistently see agencies specifically just fall into. I know with agencies, there's a DIY mindset of, don't need to use a service. I'm going to do it myself. And I think that is great. That's because agency owners are such great builders, right? Every agency owner I know knows how to do like 50 different things. But sometimes when it comes to hiring or when it comes to these practices, you really just need to know how to get down and find great talent. And there's certain pitfalls that I just consistently see agency owners make. So even if you want to do the DIY approach, I think that is great, but you have to avoid these things if you want to get consistently good hires, because if you don't do this, ultimately you're killing time, right? That's time replacing, that's time going through these ineffective processes. And then that's also time that the person that you're hiring is wasting on your business because they're not properly trained or they're just not ready for the job. So this is one of, just to start off strong, one of the main things that I consistently see is that people search for talent exclusively on Upwork or exclusively on Fiverr. And look, I love Upwork. Josh, if you use Upwork or Fiverr every now and again.
You know, every now and again, like for the onesie twosies, you know, if I need like a quick logo design or something like that, yeah, you bet I'm gonna go take a stab at Fiverr.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, real quick. But for, you know, like if I'm looking for like a media buyer, we have had some luck on Upwork, but definitely not on Fiverr. But for the most part, I'm completely in alignment with this. It's kind of a crapshoot of who you get, because I think a lot of people can fake it till they make it. And be very good on the interview process and be a great interviewer. But you know, I think if you're looking for a little bit larger talent pool, it has to come from outside of that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think too, agency owners, so many agency owners like start off on Upwork or Fiverr because, you know, when you're starting off, you need something done for $50. You can find something on Upwork or Fiverr, right? And you get these one-offs. And if you have one or two great experiences with that, which I think a lot of people do, right? Like it's very common. I know I definitely have, where I needed one really specific thing done. So I hired somebody on Fiverr who, or on Upwork, who that's all they do. And they killed it. It was great. But I think that the main differentiation comes if you are looking for a long-term project, right? Long-term project, or even just somebody who's going to act more as an employee within your business, Fiverr is not the place. And that's just because it's freelancers. Almost everyone on there, they're going to have multiple clients. Their hours are going to be very inconsistent. It's going to be when they get work. The freelancer lifestyle is completely different than the employee lifestyle. So if you're looking for somebody who's more stable, you need the platform that matches that, right? So that's going to be LinkedIn, Indeed, even things like Filipino job or onlinejobs.ph, right?
Yeah, there you
Even
go.
some
Yep.
of these larger job seeking platforms, that's where you're going to find people who are seeking full-term employment versus someone who wants 50 clients.
Yeah. And I know like one of the hot spots right now, Paris, is like South America. Everyone wants to hire South American talent from a standpoint of, one, they're on the same time zone, but they might not know exactly where to look for those types of talents. Obviously, they could work through you, right? Because you can place those people. But like if people were, you know, wanting to potentially find some more like talent just on their own, like what would you recommend if they were looking for, you know, overseas talent, but more in the South America region?
You know, I wish I had a better answer to this because, you know, the Philippines, onlinejobs.ph, it's
It's
one of
been
those
around
things.
forever. It's one of the OG websites. I mean, it was around when I was running my agency in 2018, so it's been around forever.
Oh yeah, and I think too, they have a pretty good reputation, and it's like such a clear answer. I wish that there was an equivalent for South America, because the problem is it actually is a lot harder to hire in South America yourself, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle with it. Or that's why they'll end up going to Fiverr or going to Upwork, is because they don't really know how to find the talent. That's because you can use LinkedIn or Indeed. There's not, again, an onlinejobs.ph equivalent in South America, but LinkedIn and Indeed a lot of times actually get flagged. I don't know what it is, but it's really hard to post jobs from the US in these regions on LinkedIn or on Indeed. Again, couldn't tell you why, but I know when we first started, even we had so many job postings get pulled down. And if you want to use a local one, there's a few local larger sites. You actually have to have a tax ID. So my best recommendation is if you know somebody that's living in a country, just to reach out to them, see if they'll post the ad for you. Or If you are using LinkedIn or Indeed, maybe using a VPN or something like that so that you're not getting flagged. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle, and you can do it usually once, but once you start consistently posting, you'll notice that your job postings will get taken down.
Yeah, yeah, that's we've hired one person from South America, and then she helped us find the rest of our South American talent. Like utilizing her network, and it's been incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're DIYing it, I think that's the way you have to do it.
Yeah,
A great business too. Someone needs to create onlinejobs.ph, but for South America.
but for South America, yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it.
But again, right, really just to kind of sum this up, I really think Upwork, Fiverr, it's great for these one-offs, but you don't have any control, right? And
Mhm.
as a business owner, if you're hiring somebody, if you're bringing on somebody to do a piece within the business, you need to have control. There needs to be expectations set, and it needs to be consistent. And you're
Mhm.
just really not going to get that on these freelancer sites. Freelancers are great, but not to run your business on a day-to-day basis.
100%.
Um, So the other thing I see, I know that there's a little bit of an over reliance on ChatGPT, but I consistently see people using ChatGPT to write job posts.
As we're streaming live on LinkedIn, and all the AI comments are probably coming in as we speak right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I get it. AI is great. I use AI. I use ChatGPT all the time, but you have to personalize it, right? Like you cannot just put, "Hey, I need a media buyer. This is a summary of my agency."
Mhm.
Um, and I'll have pretty consistently people send us their job postings that they're currently running, and it's clear copy and paste from ChatGPT. You can tell that the prompt is literally make a job description for a media buyer. If you're going to use ChatGPT, which I think is okay, you have to put in like lines and lines and lines of text, and you have to think about all the responsibilities that this person is going to have.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it comes down to the prompt at the end of the day, right? If you're just like, "Hey, make me a job description for a media buyer," that's so broad. Like, there's not enough context there for it to actually build a job posting that is gonna, one, make you look credible, but two, is gonna find you the talent that you're actually searching for.
Oh, absolutely. And I think too, it's also you're missing a really great opportunity to showcase your company culture. Like Josh, I know that y'all have a great company culture at Hydra, and you want to showcase that in your job posting, right? Like you're a fun place to work for.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What do you think? Like, obviously, you say how to make it better, add personality and real company voice to it. Like, what have you seen in like some of the best job postings that have come across your desk, or like that you're creating for clients? Like, what are some of like the one or two things that you're like, hey, you should absolutely include something like this? Like, I've seen down to like people adding like culture videos inside of their job descriptions and stuff, so people could actually feel what it's like to work at a place like this. But, like, what have you seen?
I really love it when people just write in their own style, in their own tone, and they talk about what type of agency they are. So one of the main questions that we get asked really in the initial interview questions when we ask for feedback from the candidates is like, what type of team is it? What do they look like? Right? Is it a 10-person team? Because a 10-person team is going to function very differently than a 100-person team.
For sure.
And people want to know, right? They want to see like who they're going to be working with. They want to hear what type of day-to-day they're going to expect. So especially agencies where you're working with this person, like there might be 3 people in your agency.
Mhm.
They need to know who you are. So I really recommend writing it by hand, and just talking about yourself, giving an introduction to yourself. Your first description needs to be, hi, I'm Josh. This is my agency. Here's when we started it. Here are the things that are important to me. And here are the things I like to do in my free time, right? This is the type of person I am, because they are interviewing you as much as you are interviewing them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Super
And
good.
I mean, I also think too, if you're using just ChatGPT, sometimes it comes off a little bit as a scam. I look through job postings sometimes and I literally will see the exact same job posting, copy and paste it on LinkedIn. And it's from different companies. And it's because
Different
they're using the
companies
same prompt.
different companies, just same exact posting, pretty much.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure you see that on LinkedIn too, right?
Yeah.
With like their certain post. I'm like, oh wow, they asked ChatGPT to write a post about sales.
Exactly. Yeah, it has like the what do they call it with the hyphen or whatever? I always feel like that's overly used with ChatGPT. Like, you can always feel when it has a little bit too much AI behind it.
Oh, yeah, and I think too, people recognize it now, right? When it first
Hmm.
came out, I don't think people could really distinguish, but now, I read something, I immediately tell it's AI.
100%.
So, yeah, you're also just degrading the quality of your candidates at a certain point too, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
the people that wanna work for a real company and want that genuine connection, they are not gonna be intrigued by a ChatGPT job posting.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. So stop using ChatGPT to write job posts. That makes a ton of sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, and then just going on to the next piece, I think that sometimes, and even the ChatGPT thing, it might be a symptom of a larger issue that people just don't wanna take the hiring process as serious.
Mm,
Um, the hiring process, I really genuinely think needs to be considered your number one priority. Um, when you are hiring, the way that you hire sets the tone for that employee throughout the entirety of their tenure.
mm,
Um, so again, I see this specifically with agency owners pretty frequently, is agency owners don't want to set high expectations because they consider themselves casual people. They might have a team of 3 or 4,
mhm.
but creating that casualness, especially flexible hours, whatever it might be, um, that's where you start to see people calling in, and that's when it starts to become more freelance work. So even if you like working at 3 a.m., you need to set, we're working 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on the flip side of that, don't contact people after 5 p.m. or before 9 a.m. as well and expect them to respond.
Mm. Okay. So what you're saying here is like one, we have to set hours, right? It's like, hey, these are
Absolutely.
the hours that we work. When you say hour tracking creates clock killers, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think that, I see, and this is again something we get a lot, is people be like, hey, can you just track their hours? Like, we don't care when they work, but let's track their hours.
Hmm.
Um, I think the main problem with that is that people will end up extending how long it takes them to do a task, right? Like, let's say you say, "Hey, I
Mm.
need you to create this deck." It takes them 10 minutes. They're gonna say it took them an hour and a half or 2
Yeah.
hours.
And they're just scrolling, through TikTok for the rest of the 45 minutes or something.
Oh, absolutely. And I've even seen, like, some toward the screen. Um, I would not wanna work for a company that did that. And you have
Yeah.
to think too, would you wanna work for a company that did that? You probably wouldn't. You would quit immediately. So
Yeah,
when
for
you have
sure.
yeah, when you have these expectations, you're you're getting candidates
Hmm.
that are a little bit more desperate.
And I will say, like, we're a big advocate of time tracking, but only if it has estimates to back it up of like, we know that this task takes X amount of minutes. Track your time against it because we're a fan of time tracking just from a standpoint of one, especially in like a B2B service business, right? Like an agency where you have to be able to understand how billable your team is and like what capacity they actually have left, especially if you run something like a creative agency. Well, you're literally selling your time for dollars, right? It's like it's labor arbitrage at the end of the day. Like that's the business that we're in. And so I do agree, like, time tracking does need to be implemented, but it has to be implemented in the right way. Like, if you don't have estimates of how long something takes, then you can't verify it against anything. So, like, if you know that, like, hey, this deck that we're designing, it takes us 2 hours, A to Z, to get this entire deck designed, right? Track your time against it. We want to see how close we can get, right? And from there, it's like, okay, it took 2.5 hours. We can go in and be like, all right, like, where in the workflow can we optimize this so we can get it down to 2 hours? So their time is more optimized for the work that they're doing. Or if they're coming in under time and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like the rest of our designers, they're taking 2.5 hours to get this done. You did it in an hour and a half. Show me your workflow. Show me exactly how you did this. Now we can go train our other team to be able to get it done in an hour and a half versus just getting it done in 2 hours. So there is like benefits to it, but I also see your point of like, yeah, at the end of the day, like if you don't have it set up correctly, people could just be like, yeah, it took me an hour and a half. And you're like, oh, okay, that took an hour and a half, but it really took them 20 minutes to get done. So I see that side of it too. So like there has to be a little bit of like trust and verification process whenever you're doing any type of time tracking.
Yeah, and I think that both methods are valid too, right? Like, I think that there's agency owners that want to be really hands-on, and want to take and say, hey, these are the blocks for your day. But at the end of the day, once you start getting into like the 5 or 6 employees, that gets really hard to do, right?
Mhm.
Like if I were sitting down with every single one of my people that I have on staff and I'm saying, hey, you need to do this, here are the 8 tasks you need to do, and here's how long it's going to take you, and track your time and block it off. That does get hard to manage. If you
Yeah.
have a good system, which I'm sure, Josh, you do, I'm sure it's a little easier.
It
But
it is, yeah, for sure.
yeah, and I'm sure y'all have a methodology and you guys have it down pat. But for some of these agency owners that I think are newer in this space or just have a smaller pool, that's going to be really difficult.
Mhm.
So my method, which is a little bit more hands off, um, is that I just like to say, okay, you're working 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you need to be on during that time and you need to be responsive during that time. So we
Mhm.
actually have mandatory response times,
Yep.
right? So on urgent matters, I expect a response in 10 minutes. And
Wow.
if I don't get a response in 10 minutes, that is a write up. Like I
Really?
will, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Because you're supposed to be at your desk.
Yeah.
Unless you tell me otherwise, right? If you say like,
Mhm.
hey, we're all human. Like, hey, my dog's sick, I need to take it to the vet or whatever it is.
Yep.
But as long as I know that ahead of time, totally fine. And even, even stuff like, hey, I want to go to Pilates during the middle of the day and I'm going to waken out, like, I'm going to stay a little bit later or come in a little bit earlier. I don't care. I think that that's totally fine. And I think that, like, especially if you're giving people work from home jobs, remote jobs, you're going to get
Mhm.
better talent if you are cool about those things. But it's all about the communication of like, oh, okay, yeah, I know that your Pilates class is at Thursday at 4 p.m. And so you come in an
Yeah.
hour early on Thursday. That's
And
fine.
and we all have, I think a lot of us probably use Slack for our internal
Mm.
comms. It's like, hey, there's a status button. You can set that if necessary, right? Just to let us know like where things are at.
Oh, yeah, I think the status button's fine, but I really think that just like communicating and sending a
Communicating.
text message.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
hey, gonna be out for the next hour. Doesn't matter why, even just this is where I'm at. But yeah, I think if you're on and you are working, mandatory response time, because if they don't have that, it means they're not at their computer. And then what are
Exactly.
you paying for? So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I love this. It's so good. So good.
so yeah, I mean, and again, I guess just to really sum this up, like agency owners, if you are trying to hire and you want to keep things casual, I think it's okay, but you really do need to have some of these expectations set, right?
Yep.
Like at a bare minimum, at least set our expectations. If you don't
Mhm.
want to do the time tracking, I get it, you don't have to, but at least say from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. we are working. And it's also on you to respect that time too, because if you're hitting people up at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., it's going to create inconsistencies during the
Yep.
day because you can't expect people to be on for 14 hours.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Um, and then number 4, I really feel like this kind of even ties back into the ChatGPT thing. Um, I see this a lot. People want to automate this, right? And I know my agency owners, they love to automate everything.
Everything.
Like everything loves to be automated, right? Like it's great. I love to automate things. I think that your outreach should not be automated.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially for like really high level talent. Like people, like if you're looking for someone very specific and that person's really hard to find, and you have some really good candidates, 100% those should be personal outreaches to them.
oh, absolutely. And I mean, anybody that has posted a job recently, especially like if you're paying a decent salary, is gonna know that this one thing happens where you will literally, and I am not kidding, you will get 2,000 applicants.
Hmm.
Um, the job market, especially if you're posting like a US based job, but even in some of these other countries that you might be looking at, like it's really crazy. People, if your salary is competitive, people will apply. And so it's hard to sort through all of those resumes. What I recommend doing is I actually recommend opening up the ad, collecting a certain number that you feel like you can commit to, so maybe 500, and then closing it. And then going through each of those resumes by hand. I know that there are so many AI tools. Um, there are a few that do kind of like a cursory look over, and
Mm.
I think that those are a good filter. Like I know one of the ones that LinkedIn has built in, like let's say you post the job in, I don't know, the Philippines and you have people applying from outside of the Philippines, it will take those other job postings other resumes just out of the pool. So I think
Mm.
things like that are useful. But I have noticed that there are quite a few resumes that actually slip through those AI filters that would be good candidates
Mm.
traditionally. Um, and that's been hard, right? Because
Yeah.
you're probably not going through just the mass. So you might miss some. If you're at a point where you don't like any of the candidates, I would recommend going through your filter. But really, at the end of the day, the best way to do it is just by looking through the resumes, and setting a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
getting somebody on that first call, seeing how they sound, seeing what they're able to talk about, asking them knowledge-based questions face to face, is really what's going to get down into the meat of it.
Have you ever done like group style interviews where like the first interview is in like a cohort of maybe like 5 or 6, different uh different, candidates for the job. Have you seen that work before?
Oh, man. um, I really dislike group interviews.
Okay.
I really highly, highly dislike group interviews. So this is kind of how I think about it. Any job that I'm hiring for is going to be a job that I've probably done before.
Mm.
Like if you're an agency owner, like Josh, what did you start off doing when you first started getting into the agency space?
Well, my position was chief operating officer, but I was a glorified social media manager because it was just 2 of us and we were doing all the work still. It's just I got the title COO, and I was like, I don't even know what that means, but yeah, that sounds cool. I'm in. So I did start in that position, but I was definitely like a glorified social media manager, making content, editing content, posting it, replying to comments. So like that was my like really first position. It just had a fancy title on it, which did not deserve that title at all yet.
Okay, right. So like let's say you're hiring for a social media manager. Think about like if that was a job that you were applying to back when you were starting,
Mhm.
would you have been okay getting on a group interview?
Honestly, I probably would have botched it because like I would have been way more nervous in a group setting than I would have in like a one-on-one.
Okay. I don't know, maybe it's because I came from a sales background, like, originally, but I just remember I went to a few group interviews, and I would walk out if it was a group interview.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
absolutely. Yeah, I would walk out, and that was as a candidate, it was just a bad experience. I remember thinking, like, "Man, they're hiring so many people, that they're not looking for somebody skilled."
Yeah, maybe you're like you feel like you're just a number compared to someone that's going to be taken seriously and can contribute to the company.
Oh, absolutely. A number, and they're gonna churn and burn you, right?
Hmm.
And so that's the impression you're giving, is that you are a churn and burn environment,
Yep.
which if you are, you are, and maybe that's the best way to hire. Like if you were a churn and burn, hire group setting. If
Sure.
you're not a churn and burn, you're looking for one person, absolutely do not do a group interview.
Okay. Got it. Got it. So those higher level positions, definitely you want that one-on-one environment.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Because again, if you were competing for a job now as an agency owner and they put you in the company that was hiring, put you in the room or on a Zoom call with 3 other agencies they were looking
Yeah. Well, that
I would
that's
have a heart attack.
sometimes how it works, especially if you're pitching some of like the larger companies, like Fortune 1000 type companies. It's not that you're like in there at the same time, but like if you ever have to present to a boardroom, typically it's that board
Mhm.
is sitting in a boardroom, and it's there's literally a lobby that you have 5 6 different agencies waiting in. Everyone's got their you know their little presentations for the boardroom and stuff, and you just cycle in one after the other. One agency walks out, the other agency walks in, and it's like it's like a very corporate style. So I was curious to hear from your side, if you've seen that work at all, but for the most part it sounds like it should be a little bit more one-on-one.
Well, I do feel like that's even fair though, right? Because you're never in the room at the same time, right?
Yes.
So if you're doing these on Zoom, because you say group interviews, right? I mean, like 10 people like dueling on Zoom.
Yeah, no, 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 none of that, none of that.
Well, because that's usually when people do group interviews, that's how they'll do it, right? They'll
Yeah.
get 10 people, they'll put them all in one Zoom, and then they just kind of ask them all questions. I think if you're going, like, let's say you were going to spend an hour on that and you had 10 candidates in there, I think it's just almost worth it. It might take a little bit more time, but
Hmm.
just do 10-minute interviews with everybody,
Yeah.
right? And if it doesn't work, say, hey, this isn't working, I can't understand you, or your English level isn't high enough, whatever it is. And then you end the interview early.
Yep.
Um, and just do short ones as a first round. Absolutely.
Super good. Love it.
Yeah. I think just take the time. It's going to
Yeah.
take hours, but go through the resumes, find the people you really want, email them personally, invite them to a quick call, see if they're a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, this is the person that's going to be inside of your company for the next 2 3 4 5 years. So it's like, yeah, like they're going to spend a lot of time with you, in your company, so they should be well vetted.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see people try to skimp on the hiring process all the time. And I'm
Yeah,
like, hey, how long do you want this employee to stay? Like, well, hopefully for, 2+ years. And I'm like, cool, maybe spend more than 15 minutes like interviewing this person.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And so this kind of ties in the next point as well. I always highly, highly recommend that people run full interview processes. I know a lot of agencies like to shortcut this. This is something I
Mhm.
very consistently
I've
see.
been guilty of this, so I feel this already.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, I mean, how did could I actually ask, how did you run your, kind of your partial process?
Yeah, so eventually we did build out, a multi-interview process with like assessments and all of that. But like when we were first starting, like, we were growing pretty quick, so like we just needed bodies. And so for us, like if they kind of fit the culture, if they spoke the language and we felt like we could train them appropriately, chances are we were bringing them on because like we needed people so quickly. But eventually once we kind of had, a little bit more bandwidth and we had a team in place, then we went to like more of this style where it was, two interviews. First interview was like 10-15 minutes. And we actually, this is before COVID. So all of our stuff wasn't remote. We had a 10,000 square foot office in Nashville. We had, an entire studio. Everyone was like in location
Mhm.
at our agency. So first interview was like a quick 15-minute Zoom call with that person. Second interview was in person. So it was like, hey, you have to come to the office and interview live with us. Third would be assessment. So like, we did a lot of content creation. So we'd give them a test project. So we'd be like, hey, here's, 30 raw assets for this specific brand. We need you to make a direct response ad that the main goal of it is to sell this product at the end. Show us what you got. Right. And we'd be like, hey, here's some examples. Right. Inside of the folder, you'll have some examples of like really good content that has performed well for us. You need to create something that is similar to this. So like here's like the box you play in, and then that was like our assessment. And then final interview, we'd invite them back, and then typically if the assessment went well, like then they were probably getting the job after the assessment, and it'd be like, hey, let's bring you back in, let's meet the team, meet some of the leadership team, meet some of the people that you're going to be working with, and then extend them a job offering.
That still sounds like a pretty full process to me. I don't know.
It
You're
it
like,
it
oh, it's a
it
partial
was
process,
it
but
was,
that's
but it wasn't like that at the beginning. It was very much like, cool, you know how to, work a camera, you know how to edit video. Great, you're on the team. Like get in here. Like I remember we hired a 17-year-old editor that just like he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm graduating high school. He started on an internship and then we extended him a full-time position, and he was like, 18 years old making 50K a year. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna skip college and like I'm just gonna edit for you guys full time. And I was like, I wish I would have done that when I was younger because I went to college, racked up debt. This kid's like making 50K a year right out of high school. I'm like, that's pretty baller.
yeah, it's impressive.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially back then. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. So eventually it moved to something like this, but it was not always that.
I you know, I see this all the time too though. I mean, people just they'll do one interview. They'll do one
Hmm.
interview and then they'll hire somebody. And every once in a while, like, yeah, it worked out. The person was fine, but I really feel like you're just completely rolling the dice. Um, Especially when things are remote and these people might be talking to your clients, right?
Hmm.
Like if you hire the wrong person, it could lose it could potentially cost you so much in business. Like not even just the cost of that employee, but the cost of just losing business because you
Yeah.
have somebody who's untrained on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's like the number one killer of agencies is increased churn, and we always see churn increase as like more employees
Mhm.
get hired on, because it's not you working the business anymore, right? It's like you have team that are fulfilling for you, and if your interview process is lacking in any way, like you're going to get people that are unqualified in
Oh,
your team, and it's going to cause churn. And that's where the biggest opportunity cost is right there. Like your LTV going down. You need as an agency, like that's one of the main metrics you need to be able to measure is LTV of a client, and if it's low, then it's really hard to grow an agency that way.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you need to have good people and you also need to consistently have the same people on. I've even had bad experiences working with companies because like my account manager ended up getting moved like 3 or 4 times. So, it was like rapid fire for like every other week. They were like, hey, you have a new account manager. And I
Hmm.
was like, hey, I don't want a new account manager. Now I have to build this relationship with this whole new person. It's
Yeah.
exhausting from a client perspective. So your front-facing people, your client-facing people really need people who have been on with you for a minute and people that you plan on keeping and you're paying well enough to keep. So again, if you just want to run like a quick and dirty interview process, this is kind of how I recommend it. I recommend doing 3 interviews. So first interview, I would do a screening call. Quick call. It can be a 5-minute call, it can be a 10-minute call, really doesn't matter. Just as soon as you're talking to the person, especially if you're hiring abroad, this is how you see, can you speak English? Can you show up on time? You know, is your mic usable? Is your computer good enough quality to work this job? You're just kind of checking, are you even at a point where you can have a job, right?
Yep.
Like, are you employable?
Yeah, like simple instructions, like make sure you're at your computer, not on your phone. Make sure, you have a microphone that works, be on time to the meeting. If like those don't check the boxes, like I'm moving on to the next person.
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually why I like shorter interviews. To be honest, we do a 3-minute grace period. If somebody isn't on within those 3 minutes, and this is for all the interviews, we close the screen and we delete their resume and we actually put them on our do not hire list.
Yep.
Because that tardiness, that is going to prevail, right? Just earlier when I said you need to set the expectations as the interviewer, that is one of those things, is the interviewee is doing things that you're going to see as a problem in the future. Do not hire them, right? They're 3 minutes on late with you. You might not care, but when you're on a client call and they're 3 minutes late, those 3 minutes on Zoom are awkward.
Oh yeah, completely.
They're awkward. If you've ever had to like talk to a client and kill time while you're waiting on someone, it's not fun.
Yeah, completely agree. So at least a 3 or a 4-step interview process, 3 of those being interviews. What are like some of the final things for that final interview that you'd recommend? Like are there certain checks and balances we're looking for? Is it more of like, hey, we're kind of screening for culture here? What's that final interview look like for you typically?
So the final interview is actually the easiest one. It's the second interview that you really dig into things. So again, first interview, like, can you apply for the job? Second interview, it really turns more into like, is this a culture fit, right? So you start asking some of these deeper questions. You're asking deeply technical questions. Whatever you need them to do, you have to really dig into it. And I recommend creating a list of questions. Don't use ChatGPT for the questions. They're going to ask you really, really wordy. Like by default, it's going to give you extremely wordy questions. Write your own questions. I recommend writing 7 to 8 questions and having the last question be like, what do you like to do in your free time? The questions 1 through 7, you need to ask for examples. I like asking people things like, hey, what's a complex problem that you've solved in a previous position? Some of these, they might seem more generic, but you're forcing people. You're putting them in scenarios, and I recommend giving a scenario that comes up literally all the time and asking how they would solve it. Even if they don't give the right answer, you want to see how their mind works. Like, Josh, is there something that, like, if you're hiring, like, let's say an operations person, that just consistently comes up that would be a good scenario question?
I mean, a lot of it's problem solving. So I would want to understand, like, hey, if there was this specific constraint inside of a business, let's call it churn, right? Churn is, above 12% right now. We're trying to get it below 10%. How would you go about solving this? What would you look at?
Okay, that's great. That's a great example.
Yeah, so it would be very position specific, but I would want to like put like a problem in front of them that they would then I get to see how they think about solving this problem.
Absolutely. You want to see the process, and that's what these scenario questions are about. Absolutely. One really simple one I also like for agencies is, hey, the client is not responding and you guys need some sort of asset before you're able to deliver on the deliverable. How do you follow up? Right? And I just like to ask, right? Especially if you're hiring for you and client facing, like, how are you interacting with the clients? How are you asking for things? And how often would you intuitively approach a client? And that's because if you get somebody who doesn't want to approach your clients, it's not going to be a good culture fit long term.
Not at all. Not at all.
So yeah, again, interview 2, I'd ask the same set to every single candidate. You really want to keep things consistent. And then if they pass that, right, if you're liking their answers, you think it's a good vibe, then that's when I'd throw an assessment at them. Again, it's just a technical skills test. You don't always need the assessment, but you want to see what somebody's written English sounds like a lot of times if the English is their second language. And then you also want to see too, right? Like if they don't have a portfolio, you want to see if they're able to edit videos properly or
Mm,
just like what they would naturally do. People a lot of times will skip on the assessment. And I do think it is to their own detriment. And I recommend paying for this too, even if it's like $10.
yep.
It's a sign of goodwill
Yeah. Yeah.
because you shouldn't ever be asking people to do stuff for free.
Sure.
So yeah, even if it's low dollar amount, ask people to do it. And then also too, then you own it. Then if you really like what they did and they don't get the job or they decline the job, you can still use that asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
And then the final interview, it should be casual. And it should be a conversation between you and them. That's when you're talking about, some of the more nitty gritty. Here's what the contractor agreement's going to look like. Here is what your day to day is going to look like. Do you have any questions for me? Right? Here's the salary expectations. Here are the time expectations. That's when you start getting into like, hey, do you have kids that you need to pick up from daycare at a certain time?
Yep.
But yeah, by the final interview, you should kind of know who you're going to hire. It should be down to maybe 1 to 3 candidates in that final interview.
Yeah. Do you have any vacations scheduled in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, that one kills me. That one absolutely kills me. Or doctor's appointments. Oh my God, doctor's appointments. People forget about those all the time. Yeah, that's the final interview. The final interview is not, are you technically competent? The final interview is, do I like you?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I love it.
It's funny, the vacations. I feel like you've been burned by this.
100%. It's like we'll get 2 weeks in. Oh, by the way, I have this vacation scheduled for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to Europe with my family, and it's like, come on, dude. Like, we just brought you in. It's like I need you to get trained up and all of that. So it's like, yeah. Those are things that I learned along the way that I'm just like, I have to start asking this because if someone has a vacation plan, like I'm probably just gonna push their onboarding until when they're back, because it's like I don't want to do a 2-week sprint and then have dead comms for 2 weeks,
Absolutely. I also think too, you have to make it like a safe environment. People a lot of times are afraid to tell you things like that because they want the job, right? So you have to be like, hey, it's okay. Like, what does your vacation schedule look like? If you're asking, people feel more comfortable.
Yep, 100%.
And so, this last point, kind of goes in, it's kind of 2 points combined. But really it's talking about that culture fit piece, right? So in this last question, I said, final interview, you really need to have that culture fit. And there's so many ways to ask this, but I always ask people, on the last interview question, on the second interview, what do you like to do? And then if they give you like an overly work answer, like I had somebody on a call the other day, he was like, I like to learn things, or he's like, I'm the tech guy. And I was like, man, no, like, what do you actually like? What Netflix shows are you watching, right? Like, what are you actually doing in your free time? Because I know you're not just sitting down and studying tech in your free time, right? Like, we want to get to know you as a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also I think like a really good test is like, would you go get a beer with this person?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my friends during his interview process for like any of his management team, he takes them to like a sporting event. He's like, and like that's one of the tests that they have is, can I sit with this person for like 2.5 hours through a sporting event? Like that's like one of their tests that they have. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like, you get to know them a little bit better, share a beer with them, whatever it is.
Do they get to pick the sporting event?
I think they have like season tickets to something. I think it's baseball. Like they're out of San Diego and they take them to like a Padres game.
Okay.
So yeah, I thought that was very unique. I don't think everyone has the capabilities of doing that, but I thought that was a very unique look of like, would you get a beer with them? Like that's what prompted that is like, yeah, can we sit down with them and hang out for 2 hours? Like that's a huge test. Like if I don't want to be around this person, I should probably not hire them, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I really don't think you need to like everyone on your team, right? Like, but you guys need to be able to get along, especially as the boss. Like, I don't know. Josh, have you ever had like more of a corporate like job where you weren't hiring, you were more just like an employee?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of my first jobs out of college, I worked for $1 billion corporation, selling like PVC piping, and I was an inside sales rep. Very corporate, very like by the book type company.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when you're with some of these companies, I don't know if this ever happened to you. I know this definitely happened to me in corporate. Do you ever had a coworker that like you just could not stand?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it was such a big company. I mean, you're bound to have some people that you just don't align with.
Oh, absolutely. It's gonna happen, right? The thing is, it doesn't have to happen in your own company
Yeah.
because everyone knows how miserable that is. In your own company, you don't have to hire people that you don't genuinely like.
Yeah.
So again, if somebody's really good and they're super professional, I think that that's one thing, and you're not having to interact with them all the time. But yeah, if you are, this person is in your business, you're going to be talking to them every day. If you
Yep.
don't like the way that they Slack message you and it annoys you, it's just going to be something that makes you angry in your business for like years to come.
I'm
So
right there with you.
yeah, and I also think too, it's hard to test this on Zoom, but I tell jokes.
Mm.
I tell bad jokes and I see how they react.
Well, you got to tell us one of your bad jokes now.
Oh man, it's usually situational. I wish I had this just like on deck. Um, but we will generally just ask, right? Like even in the interview questions, right? Someone will be kind of funny. Be like, hey, like what's something you hate doing, right? Or like what's something um, what's like the worst thing you've ever had a manager do to you, right? And so you're kind of opening up the door. Um, and you're giving people that leeway of like we're keeping things light, we're we're keeping it we're keeping things on the lighter side, but you have the ability now where we're talking in the negative,
Hmm.
right? Do you want to go negative with it? And if you do, are you able to use humor to dispel that? And also, do they just deadpan look at you? Right? Like if you're joking around with a candidate, you're, kind of just joking around, especially when you're doing your company overview. Do they laugh? Are they deadpanning? Are they not getting it? Because that's also, I think, too, if you're hiring for English as a second language,
Mm.
um, that's another level of English if you're able to tell jokes
Yeah.
in your second language.
Or at least understand the humor,
Oh, absolutely. So if you're talking to people who they're not getting the humor, that probably means that they're missing some other things and they're hearing key words and they're able to pick up and respond to most of it. But humor is so nuanced. I do think it's a really good test of if somebody understands the job and understands, again, the situational component, which is so relevant if you're getting like an audio note from a client.
Hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I really think personality testing is a big piece. And then really this is the last piece, just again sums it up. And this is something I've already kind of gone over, but I really want to put it in its own point just to drive it home, is that professionalism is so important. Um, Again, throughout the entire interview process, throughout everything, first interview, you need to set the expectations. Even in the first email that you send out, you need to set the expectations.
Mm.
Hey, here's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to do interview 1, 2, and 3. There's going to be an assessment after interview 2. It will be paid. Here's how long the candidate process is going to take. Here's when we're going to have a decision.
Like that.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
people like sit and wait.
Yeah, you should let people know here's how long it takes.
Hmm.
Because also too, if they're looking at another job and they really want to work with you, they can tell the other job, they might make them an offer, hey, can I have a week?
Yep.
Um, it lets them, because you don't want to stop people from being able to feed their families. Like really at the end of the day, even if you don't like them and you don't want to hire them, if you're not putting your best foot forward, you're putting people in a really bad situation. Like,
Yeah.
I interviewed a guy yesterday and he's from Venezuela originally. He lives in Argentina. Um, and one thing he said is like, there are people that rely on me. I cannot afford to be out of a job.
Mm.
Um, it's very clearly a matter of him sending money back home, and he
Yeah.
needs to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, if you're keeping people on their feet, if you're not being upfront with them, or even if you're hiring and firing so quickly it's making people's heads turn, you're going to create a group of people that just hate you. You're going to write stuff about you online. Like that's just going to happen. So
Yeah.
just keep it professional. Make sure you're putting your best foot forward. And also to being prepared, right? Spend at least a full day figuring out what your interview process is, keeping it consistent. That's how you're going to get better quality candidates. And that's also how you're going to set the tone for whoever you hire for the future.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. This is great, Paris. Thank you so much for putting that together. You guys, if you don't follow Paris on LinkedIn, make sure you guys give her a follow, connect with her. If you have questions around HR or hiring in general, she's a great resource for this. She's also always very giving with her time. So make sure you guys message her if you have questions, or if you guys are looking to place some people. That's what she does full time. So, Paris, before we hop off here today, give a little plug. Where can people find you? What are you working on right now? And if people are interested in working with you, what are the best next steps?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm so accessible. If you send me a LinkedIn message, I text or I check LinkedIn like it's my phone, like it's my text message. You can also send me an email. We have a website. You can always just like if you want to hop on a call with me, I'm always really happy to do that. Yeah, even if we're a hiring agency. We hire really good talent in South America. We basically have 10 people on staff who are full-time recruiting. So we keep you at a pretty good price point. We have relatively low margins, but we do a lot of volume, right? And it's just because we have these processes down. We have a lot of people to handle them. So I think we're a really great resource if you're like, yeah, that all sounds great on these hiring mistakes, but I'm not going to do any of that. I would much rather, come in and have somebody else do this and just present me a candidate. We're happy to do that, happy to help you with that process. And then even if you are hiring directly and you just want some tips, I'm also happy to kind of share what's worked for us. It's hard to build out hiring processes. It really is. So I'm happy to give you our framework. It's not going to be easy, right? It is going to be very time consuming.
Always.
But it is what it is. And I think that what we do works and gets really good candidates. But yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Paris Bland. Or you can definitely send me an email. My email is paris@digitalexecutive.com. Or you can look us up, just digitalexecutive.com. Happy to jump on a call or share some knowledge.
Amazing. I love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for attending the live today. If you're catching the replay, make sure you drop a like, drop a comment. If you have questions, you can drop a comment in the comment section. Be more than happy to answer those for you guys. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Thanks, Josh.